Welcome, you beautiful faces, back to Pommy and Oz. If you're new around here, hit that like button, that subscribe. Big shout out to you all. We've just hit 6K. So I am absolutely humbled by that. That is absolutely fantastic. When I first started this a few years ago, I didn't think I'd get more than 100. So to be there with you guys and girls, all the support you've shown me, thank you very much. Got that sheet up, the mega sheet. Check that out. You can go through all the draft. We're updating that. We have updated it just now, so that should be live by the time you're watching this video. And let's get in today's news. We've had a lot. So we had the list managers today all come out and have a furore in the world of the AFL. And we learned quite a bit from, well, literally from all the list managers. They all came out. So let's get into it. So at the moment, the big news is Carlton were linked to Tim Membry. Then Nick Austin suggested we're not going for him. Fremantle did confirm, the CEO, Simon Garlick, that Chad Warner is a heavy target for them. And they're extending Brayshaw's deal and Alex Pearce. So that's good news for them. Joe Richards requested his trade to Port Adelaide, which is going to be really interesting how that goes. A nippy small forward, very good young player as well. They've offered him a decent contract as well. Lots of scope for potential there for him. I'm excited by that trade. Now, what will that pick cost? It's probably going to be one of them steak knife deals. It's going to be really interesting. We'll talk about that a bit later, but we've got some coverage on him. Leppich said that they are super confident of acquiring Dan Houston to Collingwood. Adelaide came in, said that Neal-Bullen will be completed. Carlton doubled down, keeping their first. GWS and Essendon both confirmed that that is a talk between them. Gold Coast has said pick 6 will be on the table for Dan Rioli, which is fascinating. Makes sense with Lombardo. North Melbourne basically distanced themselves from Dan Houston, saying he looks like he wants to go to one of Collingwood or Carlton. Shame there, because I feel like it would have been a real good precedent if North could get him. And Hawthorn doubled down and underlined that it won't be happening, that Finn McGuinness is a required player. So that's definitely one to watch this space. Adam Kingsley confirmed he met with Jake Stringer. Harry Sharp at Brisbane, he's up in the air. Sam Power at Western Bulldogs came out and said that Caleb Daniel hasn't requested a trade. It's just media noise, and that they value Bailey Smith. So Geelong will have to pay. That's a real watch it space, I suppose, as it develops. But we have got some confirmed deals that we're going to go through today, which I'm really excited about. So let's get into the first one. We've been working really hard at this, and you've been really enjoying the content. So let's go through it. Mr. Neal-Bullen joins the Adelaide Football Club as the first cab off the rank, which is really, really exciting. Real good player, real solid player as well is Neal-Bullen. Plays that real forward pressure role really well. He's a real good conduit as well. Real good acquisition. And they paid pick 28 for this, which isn't a lot of coin in today's industry. 677 points roughly. We had him valued at 32. So about his money, it's about, if you look the new system, we've done, these are the new system, remember the points value, because that makes it fair. That's 100 points difference for it based on next year, which is a really good little bit of business. They get Neal-Bullen in, real solid player, real type of guy that, in my opinion, makes Adelaide infinitely better. He's a real good accomplishment piece, 176 games, 28 years old. Glenelg boy as well. So it's a real good little compliment piece to their real exciting forward line of Rochelle and Rankine as they float through the midfield. So real good pick up this, about its money. And I think both sides win in this one. It's a very rare one. Up next, Jack Darling. And I'm really excited about this one. I really am. And the reason is I know he's not he's probably played his best football, but I can't overemphasize this type of maturity coming into a club that is very, very young. He's a winner. He's been there, he's done it, he knows all the dark arts. Yes, he's 32 years old, but he's played just short of 300 games. Former pick 26, averaged a goal a game this year. We had him valued at pick 60, which is right at the end. That works out at 0 points. We just put 1 there because the algorithm spits out something. It always has to. No one's lost, no one's won here. I think North have actually got the better end of the deal here, just because of what that brings with their young players that they have got. I feel like this is a really, really good deal, because the one thing I think North Melbourne lack at the moment is knowledge and fight. Knowledge and fight is what I would say. And when you've got young players like Gold, Teakle's only 24, but you've got Hamish Free, who's coming through the system. Then you've got Will Dawson, who's 19 next year. You've got some Charlie Comden. You've got these young players here. And for me, it's just going to help them when they're in training. Do you know what I mean? When they're in training every day, it's going to really help them out. It's going to give them just that know-how, that bit of dark arts, some things that you can only learn from the experience. So I think this is a really good deal for them. I think it's a good deal for West Coast as well, because they've got to kind of like start bringing in their young players. They've got a lot of maturity in that list as well. So all round, everyone's a winner, baby. Ain't that the truth? And Jack Graham is going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's announced he's going to sign a multiple-year deal with West Coast Eagles. So that's 2028. That's a 4-year deal. That's pretty impressive. Currently, the rumours are it's going to be a bound 3, bound 4 comp. We have heard rumours that pick 2, but it ain't going to happen. We're saying 33, which is what? The end of the second. So band 3, band 4. Band 3 roughly is just after every non-finals team in the second round. Band 4 is the end of second round. So I reckon it's going to be around there. It's going to be interesting how this one plays out. But it helps Richmond in the terms of, I think Richmond people are going to come for their picks. So this is another pick that they can maybe trade on, bring a bit of older talent. When you look at what Richmond are looking at doing in this draft and the players that they're linked with, they are not really linked with anyone. They're going to hit the draft hard. So any pick here in that mid-region from the 30s is really solid business. Jack Graham is just one of them players, if he can stay fit, it's a really, really good deal. He's 26 years old, be 27 as the season rolls out next year, but he's played a heck of a lot of games, and we know that this guy's got finals experience. He can play midfield, he can play across the forward line, he isn't shy defensively, he's a good scrapper as well, and he's a standard setter. If you can get someone above this guy, it's really good. I'm really excited about seeing Jai Cully, if he does stay on with West Coast Eagles, how this helps him out as well. So this is a really interesting one. Definitely a watch this space. But I really like this deal, and we'll wait for the compensation. We'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. But then we've got this one here. Dan Houston to Collingwood looks set to go. If you watch me and Let Dog, we did suggest that this could be the easiest trade of the draft and trade period, just because all clubs involved in this potential deal for pick 13 is linked to Port and Gold Coast and Collingwood. That they're all myriad. They've all got to do business together. So let's have a look at how that could do. So what we've done here is, I'm going to explain this to you, is we've done like a little potential trade scenario. So the future first, what we've done is we've rendered them out at the price. Do you know what I mean? The price that is. So let's just look at this. That future first for is meant to be Dan Houston's price. So the future first one there on Collingwood, they're going to give up future first John Noble and Joe Richards, right? So that works out for them. A future first is 1590. How we've come up with that figure is we've just basically averaged this year's draft picks. So if you want that for a future for next year, that comes down to about 1486. But we've just done it at that 1500 mark. Obviously, that can fluctuate. Should Collingwood finish high? Should they finish low? We've just done that as an average of pick 9. So just to make it fair, and then obviously pick the future second, the average of that is obviously 9 plus 18, 27. So that pick around 27. Gold Coast will give up pick 13, 41 and Jack Lacocious, and Port Adelaide will give up Dan Houston, who we value at A first and a second, somewhere around that. Don't see that as a future first, but that's just the amount of points it takes, and a future second. So obviously, when we're looking at a future first, as we've said, that's around 1486 in value. That's not going to get it done. So you do need that extra, dependent on where you are on the ladder when it's current. Let's have a look at how this would work when we look at it. And you can see here that, again, remember that future first figure at Gold Coast is wrong. That should be 1560. But you can see here how this deal actually works out. That pot would end up with pick 13, Joe Richards and Jack Lacocious, working out at roughly the value that they had for Dan Houston. And they're about 692 in deficit, right? Now, remember, there's some dependence here. If they do a future first, at least they know that 13 is where its money is. Gold Coast do benefit from this deal. They obviously get some good points in. So they get the future first, which we're valuing at about 1590. They're getting a second, which we're valuing at 713. And they're getting Neal-Bullen, who's about 637 of footballer. So that value deficit there is about 216. And Collingwood obviously make quite a bit. And the reason is why this is quite warped in Collingwood's favour is because you know what you're getting. Draft picks, you're obviously guessing. There's a bit of a guesstimate there. It's easier to value a player that's in the system. So Collingwood would win this trade by points. I think, though, that there's a benefit for all sides. One, I think that we've given up pick 41, even though they've got to match points. Gold Coast have the points still in to match a Lombardo pick, and they're doing work with Dan Rioli for pick 6, which means picks will come back. So they've already got that avenue. It evens it out because then Collingwood will have 36 and 41 in this trade scenario. So they can maybe double that up. Richmond are going to have a plethora of picks. Is that a way to jump up the value there? Also, they're going to have to get, because they've they also will be looking at points for next year. So they've still got the future second. That could be something as well if teams do want to jump up. But it gives them some real scope to move around. And I think Port Adelaide have got a real fair deal here because they've got Jack Lacocious. And Jack Lacocious is probably the future first here. We're valuing him at 50-32. It's a real tough one to value, though, because if you're doing him as a backman, it's less. When you're doing him as a forward, slightly more. But there's a lot of scope there, and this is all in the eye of the beholder. So this is when you break these trades down, you've got to look at it in the eye of the beholder. How much do you value Jack Lacocious? If they think Jack Lacocious and Big Mitch G are the future of that forward line, this could be an even better value for them. If it plummets, though, there's always that risk element because he's, again, slightly like a trade pick. But I think this is a really fair deal. I've seen a few pandered around without that 41. I think Collingwood would want something back because obviously then they've got some value for Joe Richards, which is about where he is, which is about where Joe Richards is. I think his pick is very late. It's going to be like you see, look, Joe Richards, we're only valuing him about that pick in the 40s. John Noble obviously is the loss here, but I think this is really interesting because I think with Dan Rioli come in, suddenly you're going to have to sell this to them. And Collingwood, because Carlton have offered a future first and a second, which we'll come to in a minute, they've got to overpay slightly. They've got to overpay. So even though they've benefited with the person coming in, they've got to do it. So by giving up Noble effectively in this deal, I think it evens it out just by what all the sides want. And I think all sides are remunerated. So let me know what you're thinking that. That's just a baseline there of what is possible. But hopefully you enjoyed that. Pick 13 is also targeted by the Blues. And let's look at the potential trade for here. The trade at the moment is a future first and a second, which I think is a lot of money. It's more palatable if they give 41. Now, what's the benefit of this? Again, Gold Coast are going to have a lot of picks. Lombardo's covered for them. So they're really happy with that. And 41, while there's 29 there, that's still going to be eaten up with the Lombardo bid. So where Lombardo will go in, that's about, let's just say, 1063. 480, they've got enough picks with their lower values here. And knowing how the AFL works, pick 6 is going to have something back. Probably 32 is coming back. They would have the picks to cover that with what's left, I'd imagine. So Richmond probably are going to be a part of this, but it makes sense. Carlton, they're going to have a real nice pick here because they'd have pick 13 and pick 12. But with their second, they would also have 34 and 41. So they've got a bit of coverage for Ben Camporelli. They've also got some steak knives there. They're going to be using pick 71 in a rookie upgrade for Mr. Jordan Boyd. So then with 68, 65, they're probably going to cover a bid up to anywhere if he goes after 40, which I don't think he will. But they would then have a bit of protection with another pick in them 30s. So this is going to be a really interesting one. And that's how it works out. Do you know what I mean? Carlton do take the knock slightly, but you've got to get this done. But this does probably put you ahead of Collingwood's offer here. I think Carlton will want something back. Carlton also have to, in this deal, get a future second back next year. So that might be something with Matty Owens with that 41. They could on-trade that, make that deal look a little bit more attractive to parties. Could be a really interesting one. Particularly Brisbane are one to watch here because at the moment they have next to no points. They're going to have two bids. Currently they've got 11.25, which covers one player being bid on at pick 10. So Levi Ashcroft's going to be early there. This could be something that Carlton offer 34 and 41 for a future second and try and get that second back with Matty Owens, let's just say. So this could be a really interesting one, what Carlton do with this one. But that looks the deal there. That looks the deal. And the other one we got to talk about is Devon Robertson. West Coast expect him to leave. They said they're interested in him. Brisbane have confirmed the same, that they expect him to seek pastures new. And we've got him valued in them late 40s at the minute. And this is based on next year's draft model. So that's probably about a future third. If you can get him for about a future third, that's good. Interesting that West Coast have brought in 67. Is 62 and 67 enough for Brisbane? Now, the reason I tell you that is that's 200 of points. So this could be a deal as well that is made that allows them to get them points in, because I don't think they want to go into deficit. At this stage, they're looking at like a 900, 800 deficit if they are drafted in order. But this could be a really interesting one that I want you to keep an eye out, a real nuanced one. But that's what we've got there. Tim Membry, obviously, I suspect may be of interest to Brisbane, so watch this space on that one. That's what we've got for you on day one of trade. So let me know what you could do. Got loads more shows coming up this week. Thank you very much. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Wouldn't it be grouse if we could get 7K before the end of the draft window? But we've got loads coming up, loads of draft content, loads of trade. Peace, love, and light. Pop out. Got loads more shows coming up this week. Thank you very much. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Wouldn't it be grouse if we could get 7K before the end of the draft window? But we've got loads coming up, loads of draft content, loads of trade. Peace, love, and light. Pop out.